Welcome to Fear and Greed, the week ahead. I'm Sean Aylmer, and as always, I'm joined by economist Stephen Koukoulas. You'll find him at thekouk.com, TheKouk, thekouk.com, and on X using the handle thekouk. Stephen, good morning.
G'day, Sean. How are you?
I'm well. Look, the autumn racing carnival is pretty much over. Did you have a good carnival?
I had a great carnival, some wonderful horses running around. Didn't really win enough money to sort of do anything exciting with, but it's more fun. If you lose a few dollars on the races, it's just fun. If you win, it's a little bit more fun. But getting ready for the winter campaign up in Brisbane and a long way till the spring campaign.
Yeah, it is. Okay, let's jump into what's happening. Well, let's talk about what happened last week because there's a bit of news around. We had, let's start with house prices, still rising, but that sort of the pace of growth is slowing a bit.
Yeah, the CoreLogic numbers confirmed a 0.6% nationwide increase in house prices, following a 0.6 the month before and a 0.3 the month before that. So reasonable sort of increases, but as you alluded to, down on what we saw in the middle of 2023 when we were getting monthly increases, round about 1%. Now, the really interesting part of the data now and what's happening in the housing market is a massive divergence between who's strong and who's weak. So there's really only three cities that are strong, and that's Adelaide, Perth, and Brisbane, where there's 15 to 18% annual increases. Wow, that's strong. Whereas Melbourne, Sydney, Hobart, Darwin, Canberra, well, certainly in the last 3 or 4 months anyway, have been sort of flat or just little increases. So a big divergence, and I think it comes back to which cities have been building lots and which cities have got the really strong population growth that's fueling these divergences in prices. But overall, prices still going up, but just less rapidly than, say, 12 months ago.
So, talking about building approvals. Not a lot going on in that section at the moment.
Yeah, really disappointing. Linked to what we were just saying about house prices, we know that we've got to build a lot more houses in Australia to deal with this really strong lift in population growth and the shortage that currently exists, even without any more population growth. So the building approvals down 1.9%, following a fall of 2.9% the prior month. The level of building sort of tracking at its lowest level in about 11 years. To put it into sort of another context, we're currently building at an annualised rate about 150,000 dwellings per year, which sounds a lot in a way, but when our population's increasing by 500, 600,000, we're not building enough to allow for that population growth. So the shortage in housing, pressure on prices, pressure on rents will probably continue a little longer.
Okay, what about this week? We don't have a lot of domestic information coming out, the National Australia Bank survey, but plenty going on overseas.
Yeah, look, the NAB survey, as always, is an interesting, contemporary, up-to-date read on what the business sector is telling us, and it's been resilient. It's come off the strength that we saw in the latter part of 2023, but nonetheless, business confidence, business conditions are okay. They're in the groove. And also we get a lot of the subcomponents on price pressures and wage pressures, labour costs in the survey as well. So that'll be interesting. But arguably, all of our eyes will be overseas during the course of this week. We've got 3 really important central bank meetings. RBNZ, New Zealand's in a recession. They're probably not going to cut, but they'll certainly sound dovish. European Central Bank, similar story. Germany's very weak, and of course that's the big part of the ECB or the European area. So they're weakening too, so probably a dovish take from them. And our friends in Canada, they're probably going to be a little bit more resilient. So the Bank of Canada, again, on hold, but we're going to be watching for which central bank blinks first, which is going to be the first to signal an easing bias in this cycle. So there's 3 big ones to watch out for this week.
I suppose just going on that theme, Jerome Powell last week, the US Federal Reserve Chair, he still seems pretty determined to cut rates at some point this year.
Yeah, we had some reasonable data last week. We had a couple that were a bit weaker too. So again, it's that, it's not unambiguously strong or weak, which is, of course, where us market economists get a little bit confused from time to time. When some strong, some weak, what do we do? Same with central banks. But Powell was saying that the Fed in the US still has a bias to cut interest rates. He still is seeing a number of rate cuts over the remainder of 2024 and probably into 2025. And a few of his other FOMC committee members were saying a similar sort of thing. So while there's still a little bit of ambiguity about how commodity prices, oil shot up dramatically last week, will that impact on inflation? There's many moving parts of this story, but it does appear that the Fed does want to cut rates. Their interest rates are very restrictive in the US. But what we're talking about here, Sean, I think it's important to emphasize, is not a mega rate cutting cycle, but probably 2 to 4 rate cuts over the next 12 months. No more than that.
Stephen, enjoy your week.
Thank you, Sean.
That was economist Stephen Koukoulas, better known as The Kook. You can find him at The Kook and follow him on X using the handle The Kook. I'm Sean Aylmer, and this is Fear and Greed, the week ahead.